that beats your expectations. Yes, this is that award-winning radio station, radio in Delta State here. And yes, this is the voice of your baby girl, May May. How y'all doing? Okay, right now, time check. It is 10 to 7 minutes past the hour of 12 p.m. And I wonder what you're doing. Right now, it is the midday blue section, but I had to interrupt that because we have something quite interesting that's happening right here in the studios. But basically, I always come with the goodies. I always come with stuff that would help you throughout your day. We give you the right information here on Quest. And like I said, I have an interview right now. There's someone great, someone awesome, someone super here with me in the studios. And yes, he is a member of the Community Development Advocacy Foundation here in Delta State. And he goes by the name Mr. Fred. He has something important he has to discuss or rather tell you today, but I'll let him introduce himself to you, before we go right into it. So, hello, Mr. Fred.
Hello, good afternoon.
Good afternoon. I need to greet my people.
Okay, so good afternoon, everybody. I hope you are doing well, wherever you are this afternoon. My name is Noho Fred, and I'm here to talk on the host community aspect of the PIA, Petroleum Industry Act, and how it affects the entire communities in Delta State. Thank you for listening.
Okay, well, you heard from Mr. Fred. So let's go straight into it, because I know right now a lot of people are wondering what is host community and all of that. And usually we ask someone to talk about that, but we still have people who still do not know. So what is this all about? The host community aspects of the Petroleum Industry Act.
Okay, so to begin, I'd like to mention that the PIA is an act of the National Assembly passed in 2021. Which regulates the commercial and profitable management of the petroleum sector in the country. The host community, on the other hand, is all the communities which are playing host to oil and gas facilities or pipeline section that pass through their community.
Okay.
This set of people are jointly called host communities.
Okay. All right. So before now, we've actually had talks about you've had these talks here in Quest 93.1 FM. I believe you had this interview here on Friday and also on Monday.
Yes.
But like I said, there are people who missed out on that. So quickly, just give us a brief recap of what was discussed or what was talked about the last time you were here.
Okay. So at the maiden edition of the episode, that was Friday last week, we actually outlined the objective of the PIA, generally, which is section 1 of that, which was in chapter 1 of the PIA, that create efficient and effective institution with clear and separate roles for the petroleum industry, establish a framework for the creation of commercially oriented and profit-driven national petroleum company, promote transparency, good governance, and accountability in the administration of petroleum resources in Nigeria, foster a business environment conducive for petroleum operations in Nigeria, and deepen local content practice in Nigeria oil and gas industry. So these were, the general objective of the PIA, which we discussed on Friday. We followed up on that on the Host Community Development Trust and their objective, which were 1, foster sustainable prosperity within the host communities, provide direct social and economic benefit from petroleum operation to host communities, enhance peaceful and harmonious coexistence between licensees or lessees and host communities, and create a framework to support the development of host communities. So these were the specific objectives of the host communities and the general objective of the PIA as we talked about on Friday. Well, we also touched on a lot of other things, which had to do with the host community trust. It is a body that is to be created by the oil company for the management of every aspect of the host communities in their development, both social, economic, and environmental aspects.
Okay. All right, let's move on to today, And I have quite a question. I have a question that's been on the mind of lots of people, especially those in the host communities and all of that. What is the role of the advisory committee, and who actually set up? Who set it up? The advisory committee. What is your roles, and actually who set it up?
Okay, yeah. So last week, sorry, that's on Monday, we talked about the board of trustees
Okay.
being set up by the oil company. We also talked about the board of trustees setting up the management committee, which is directly under the board of trustees, and their roles as generally. So today we are going to talk about first the host community advisory committee, which is a body directly under the management committee. The advisory committee is created, is empowered empowers the management committee to create the advisory committee
Okay.
to work supervise every aspect of host communities in the entire
Okay, so the advisory committee is to supervise every
yes.
aspect of.
Yes.
Okay.
Now,
But
specifically, section 249 actually says that the host community development trust mandates the management committee to set up advisory committee populated by one member each of the host communities. What that means is that the advisory committee will create the management committee will create the advisory committee and populate it by nominating one member each from every community within the host community's region. So, and there are, the functions of the advisory committee are: one, nominate members to represent host communities in the management committee. Secondly, to articulate community development projects to be able to be transmitted to the management committee, monitor and report progress of contracts or projects ongoing in communities to the management committee, and advise the management committee on possible improvements on security and peace building within host communities. So these are the functions of the advisory committee.
I was going to go further and ask you how you're going to be able to nominate members from each of the communities and all of that. But, we still have a lot to cover and we don't really have so much time in our hands. So let's move away from that. I'm sure that is already settled, has already solved, So let's move on to another question. In talking about the needs assessment, what exactly are we talking about?
Okay, so in the Nigerian constitution largely provides that where any company wants to, establish its operation in any part of the country, there has to be what you call environmental needs assessment.
Okay.
Now, what that does, what the needs assessment actually does, is to look at how the communities, the immediate communities within that area, how the activities of the community will affect the communities. How the activities of the company will affect the communities. Now, this may be positive and may also be negative. So, before the operation of any company, it is expected that there would have been the EIA carried out and also made public to people within the locality, the state, and the national level, where all the communities who will be affected will go and take a look at what these things, how it will affect them economically, environmentally, or socially. So it is expected that for those areas where oil and gas is actually in operation within the state or within Nigeria as of today, there was at some point in time where this needs assessment has been done. So if for example, there is a particular leadership in a particular community that does not know what exactly the needs assessment that were done at some point in time, what they were, I think they can, try and go to the local government if that document is still there, and I'm sure it should still be there.
It should still be there,
Yeah, go to the local government, take a look at what it is, how it is affecting them, or how it will.
Just take it from what you said right one should be able to just go to the local government to be able to look up this documents and know what's up. How do you think that is actually possible? Like the layman on the street now, or the man in his community that says, okay, I don't really know what this rules are all about, this assessment. Okay, let me go and look at it. Do you think they have accessibility to be able to to see that, to see those documents, to get the information?
It is possible because of the Freedom of Information Act.
Okay.
And so, I mean, what does it take from the local government if you have the document and refuse to give it to the person to take a look at? Besides, the oil company, the company that is managing that aspect in that particular area, also have the responsibility to make it available to the communities to be able to look at. Because that document will show the specific needs of the host community. Okay. Take a look at, say, West FM is a community, and there's an oil company here that does business here. You have no way of knowing what, based on the EIA, you have no way of knowing how it's going to affect you until you see the document.
Yes.
Because that document is a document that was carried out by experts, which takes a look at a variety of things that may affect you. So if you don't have a look at it, you won't know what's actually in the document. You won't know what to ask for.
What to ask for, exactly. All right, let's move away from that now. All that's been said from the first day of this program has been on how the PIA rewards the host community, yeah? Now, is there any provision put in place that checks the possibility of excesses of this host communities?
Yeah, well, the philosophy behind the PIA, like I said, there are two. One is to reward the community. The second one is also to, like, a form of punishment if the communities, the host communities, does take laws into their hands.
Okay.
So it's about a stick and carrot situation. Yes. So yes, while the PIA has largely attempted to reward host communities who benefit or who has oil being exploited in their communities, it has also stated that where in any year, and I'm reading verbatim, where in any year an act of vandalism, sabotage, or any civil unrest occur that causes damage to petroleum and designated facilities, or disrupt production activity within the host community, the community shall forfeit its entitlement to the extent of the cost of repair of the damage that resulted from the activity, and so on and so forth. So let me break that down.
Yes. Like, break it down to the layman. We're speaking English here. Yes. There are people who don't really get it. So I need you to break that down.
Yes. Break it down. Yeah. Now, it says, within that year, a year, the literal is January to December. So within that year, if there's any act of sabotage, vandalism, of course we know what sabotage is, vandalism.
If you go vandalism, if you go and do something,
say you go side, somebody from the community goes side oil, and oil the crude oil begin to pour for ground and all that, and that's an act of vandalism or sabotage. Now, or civil unrest in the community. Some group of persons thinks that the oil company or the government actually is not treating them well. So rather than avail themselves the processes of conflict resolution, they decide to take laws into their hand. And for example, they went to the flow station and shut down the flow station. That means you have shut in production for that particular area. Now the law says where it is confirmed that there's an act of vandalism or sabotage or civil unrest that disrupt production, for as long as it takes and the cost at which the sabotage or vandalism is going to be used, the cost of repairing that will be calculated. Now, before I move further, let me talk about the financial aspect of the whole. Each of the PIA made provision for 3% to be paid into the host community trust fund. That 3% has 75% for projects, 20% for investment, and 5% for administrative purposes. Now, if somebody breaks a pipeline in the community A, and the cost for repairing that particular pipeline goes as much as 30,000 naira, for example, the law says that when calculated, that 30,000 naira will be deducted from the monies that will be going to that community for development. So if it takes, for example, the community is earning 10,000 naira every year, and the
And
cost
the
to repair
repairs,
that is 30,000. So
30,000.
it
So
means
it's
that
going
for
to
3
run for
years,
3 years.
the community will not be earning
Anything.
anything.
Mm.
So it goes. That's just the punishment for it.
Mm.
So it means what that means is that there is on the part of the communities, you have a responsibility
Yes.
of checking to ensure protection,
Protecting as well.
to ensure that oil facilities are not damaged.
Mm.
Oil facilities are not, but production generally is not shut in.
It's not even shut down at all in any way.
You understand?
Yeah.
So that at the end of the day, while you ensure that the protection of all these things is in place, your earning every year will continue to flow in.
Mm. All right, thank you very much, Mr. Fred. Yes, he's speaking from the Community Development Advocacy Foundation, which is sponsored by Budget. But yes, I have to go now. I have to go pay bills. I have to go do things. So I'll be able to buy my own, my own stuff. And anyway, you've heard what today, people. But don't go anywhere. You're still here on Quest 93.1 FM, the station that loves you. Bye for now. The ethical advancement. Surprise this man has not come to eat
Quest Radio 93.1 FM.
Okay, I agree. Yo, baby girl is back, and you're still tuned here into Quest 93.1 FM. Yes, the station that beats your expectations. It is 3 minutes past the hour of 1 p.m. and this is a lovely Wednesday. But before we went on that short break, before I went to the market to go, pay bills and all of that, I was talking about something quite interesting. I had an interview I was on right now. And yes, we still have our guest here in the studio. I'm talking about Mr. Fred. He's from the Community Development Advocacy Foundation, which is sponsored by Budget. Yes. And today we're talking about host community and, the Petroleum Industry Act. Yes, before we went on that break, he had a lot to say, but don't worry, this is a point where we open the phone lines for you to be able to call in, ask your questions, drop your opinions, whatever it is doing you. But don't forget, keep it PG-13 because we may have kids listening and you don't want to say the wrong words on radio. So yes, the numbers to call are still the same: 081 888 931 and the 0022 931 931. Just remember, when you're calling in, you say your name, you state your location, and then you have your say. And don't forget to turn down the volume of your TV. All right, sorry, this aspect is radio. Turn down the volume of your radio set. Turn it off so we don't have any form of connection interruptions, and you can converse superbly with Mr. Fred. So it seems as though we have the phone lines ringing. Yes, but before we pick up the phone lines, Mr. Fred, I'm sure you have a few words you want to drop. So quickly, enlighten us.
Yeah. So we've had 3 days.
Yeah, the last thing we were talking about was about the possible punishments that the host communities might have to go through if they go about vandalizing or creating sort of crisis to stop production and all of that. So you can actually expand on that.
Yeah. So actually we talked about the provisions of the PIA, which discourages the vandalism of oil facilities, sabotage, civil unrest that we shut in production for any period of time. And we also mentioned that for an act of vandalism and sabotage, where the cost of repair of what has been vandalized is computed,
yes,
that money will be deducted from the possible earning of that community for as long as it takes to settle the bill. And so I will enjoin our communities.
Well, I have to put you on a hold there, Mr. Fred. We have people calling into the show. And yes, this is time for us to take those calls. Hello? Good afternoon. Your name and your location, please. Okay, Pastor James Alabo, welcome on board. So yes, we have Mr. Fred in the studio here. You can ask him questions. Yes. Mm. Mm. Okay.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much, Pastor Alabama. We have to take more calls, and we have to also give time for our guests to answer those questions.
Yes,
So quickly.
Pastor Alabo, thank you for those questions. The first one I was in the area of vandalism.
Yes.
Whether the
He did say you were correct.
Yes, okay. So, but whether the last question he asked is on whether
That if it's possible for them to go know the amount of money,
of
that.
course, of course.
Okay.
Now the PIA actually makes sure that whatever that is done transparently.
Okay.
Okay. Um, if you have the opportunity of asking first and foremost your leadership, your community leadership, to explain to the entire community what is being done, by how much is it due for the community. And let me also state this: monies are not supposed to be paid according to the PIA. There is nowhere it is said that monies will be paid in cash to the community.
Okay.
Rather, what the PIA says is that you're based on the quota of oil production the community is doing, you have that money to be used as development purposes.
In the community. Yes.
So what
community.
it means is that the community the oil company and the community would have decided on the project that the community needs.
Okay.
The oil company awards the projects through the host community development trust, and a company who should have major interest in the community will come in and develop and
Those
do
projects,
that project, those
yes.
projects. So it really did not give room for
any particular money
fiscal
to be
money
dispersed
paid
to any members of the community.
Exactly.
Yes, well, you're still here on Quest 93.1 FM, and yes, we are talking about the host community aspect, especially of the Petroleum Industry Act. And it is a time for you to be able to call in, and air your views and have your says and all of that, and ask questions, because we have our guest here, Mr. Fred, in the studios. And yes, the numbers is still the same: 081 88 931 and 08022 931 931. Hello. Please turn down the volume of your radio set. All right, continue. Okay. All right. Mm. All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Pastor Alavo. But the PIA did not actually talk about boundaries and all of that.
Yeah.
But it is expected that because oil exploration has been on for ages in our society, those issues about the ownership of a particular well or the other would have been settled by now. If you go to, for example, in your area, the oil company that is operating in that area, it dates back from the days of SPDC. So they have records on ground to show that this particular wellhead belong to this particular community. But if there's anything like contention as to who is the owner for maybe based on recent facts and all of that, it is expected that the community should approach the oil company and see how it can be resolved amicably. Remember, I just mentioned a while ago that you cannot afford to go into conflicts which will affect oil production within your community, because if that happens, it means your own community will be forfeiting for as long as that conflict continues your share of development in that society.
Hmm. All right, it seems as though we've had a good run today because we've got to go. We have a lot of programs lined up for you today, so you can be, entertained, you can be informed, and all of that. But it's been a good one. Thank you very much, Mr. Fred, for coming in. Do you have any final words you want to say?
Well, yes, I'd like to say that first, as people of Nigeria, we are peace-loving people. I think it is important we continue with that aspect of our life. Yes, I also want to say that it is normal for people to disagree,
Yes.
but in disagreeing, it simply says that we should also, at some point, agree, at a particular level. So where there is conflict, where there is a disagreement, kindly put in motion the processes for reconciliation or resolution of the issues that are at the heart of that disagreement. Thank you.
Right. Thank you very much, Mr. Fred, from the Community Development Advocacy Foundation, which is sponsored by Budget. But yes, it is what it is. I have to call it a day right now. But don't worry, we have lots of programs lined up for you to keep you well entertained and to keep you well informed. And don't forget, you are live on Quest 93.1 FM. I remain your radio baby girl, May May. Bye for now.